Hey, what's going on, everybody? Composer Jamie Coleman here to tell you 5 pieces of equipment that are essential if you're going to be a film composer. Number 1, you need a computer. Not just any computer, but a powerful computer. In this day and age, most music is created or written on a computer. Number 2, a digital sample library. So what that is live instruments being recorded and then those recordings transferred into audio files. So you need a great sample library, one that has realistic orchestral sounds. Other sounds you can get away with, whether it might sound real or authentic or not. But orchestral sounds, you want to sound as authentic as possible. And there's some sample libraries that might not sound as authentic as others. So you want to make sure you go ahead and spend the money on a great sample library, because you want those strings and those winds sounding and that brass sounding as real as possible. So you want to get a sound library that actually has real musicians playing those sounds. Well, now we have the capability to take those audio files and put them in number 3, our DAWs, Digital Audio Workstation. That's the software that you will use to record your music and do your mixing. Logic is what I use. That comes with Apple. It's an Apple product. And a lot of other people use Pro Tools. So in the world of film creation, film production, and editing, you're either going to be using Logic or Pro Tools. Some people use Cubase, but the majority of composers will be using Logic or Pro Tools. So the DAW will take the digital samples, those audio files, and allow you to manipulate them via number 4, your MIDI controller. So you use your MIDI controller, which takes the shape of a keyboard in most cases, and the MIDI controller will use the sounds from the digital sample library, play them on the MIDI controller through your DAW, your recording software, on your computer. Number 5 will be an audio interface, which will allow you to connect external microphones and or instruments. So in order for because you're going to be using a computer in most cases, in order for you to be able to record live instruments or live sound, you'll need your microphone and or guitar, for example, to be able to talk to the computer. Well, you do that via an audio interface. So you need a computer, digital sample library, a MIDI controller, an audio interface, and you need a DAW. Those are the essential pieces of equipment that you have to have. No debating. Can't get around it. You have to have those things if you're going to be a film composer, and in most cases, a music production, period. And in 2019, the days of only writing music on paper and notepads is over. You have a lot of older composers that probably still do that only because that's what they're used to. But in 2019, it's all about computers. It's all about technology. So you have to have a computer. And having a computer doesn't take anything away from your writing ability, because most DAWs, at least Logic does anyway, has music notation in it. So you can still, it just removes the paper aspect away from it. There are 2 pieces of equipment that I feel go without saying. That's why I didn't put them in the essentials list. But you have to have a pair of headphones and some speakers. So I assume you have that already. But the headphones, you use to iron out the nooks and the crannies and the fine details. And the speakers, of course, you want to be able to hear your music in a live acoustic environment. I've heard some composers say that they don't use house speakers or house monitors. I don't understand that at all. In my experience, you have to have some speakers so you can be able to hear the music out loud. Something else that isn't necessarily essential, but I highly recommend, and that's the use of external hard drives. So because the digital samples take up so much power, your computer, depending on how powerful your computer is, but even still, you don't want your computer to have to process the sends and the receive signals from your samples all on one processor. You want to keep those 2 separate. That way your processor isn't overworking itself, because it's nothing worse than in the middle of a session and your system keeps crashing because it's overloading. And I'll talk about that in my frustrations video. So I highly recommend you getting some external hard drives just to keep things separated. You want the samples on one external hard drive, and you want your DAW on the computer's hard drive. You're going to have these essential pieces of equipment. Anything other than that is just you wasting money, or you trying to decorate your studio. All of that outboard gear you don't need anymore, because outboard gear is outdated in 2019. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on outboard gear. It's all outdated. Anything that you can find in outboard gear, like effects and reverbs and things like that, even samples and all that stuff, you're going to find in your DAW. Logic is ridiculous. It has everything you will need. An entire professional studio in the shape of software. That's it. You don't have to have any. I had absolutely no outboard gear other than an audio interface and a mic preamp. That's it. You don't have to waste money on any outboard gear. So don't worry about spending a whole lot of money. Don't worry about going broke on equipment and all of that stuff. You don't need it. You don't waste all your money trying to pay live musicians. That's what the sample libraries are for. Anybody that tells you you need all of that outboard gear is lying to you. You don't know what they're talking about. And when you see other videos and see other people's studios and all that stuff, and you see all this outboard gear and all these shelves and all that stuff, it's all old. It's just for show. Because they don't even use, I guarantee you, they don't use most of that stuff up there. They might use a couple of sounds, their go-to favorites from way back in the day. But I guarantee you they're not using all of that stuff. It's just for show. You look around my studio, you don't see none of that. All you see is keyboards and microphones, some speakers. That's it. Everything's in my computer, in my software. And I probably spent on all of my equipment $2,000 to $3,000 tops. That's it. And I've had the same equipment for at least 4 to 5 years now. Don't need to upgrade anything. All you need is your computer, your MIDI controller, your DAW, your audio interface, and your sample library. Period. Microphones, headphones, speakers, that goes without saying. I'm assuming you have that already, because you'll probably want to record at some point, record something live, whether it's a singer, acoustic guitar, whatever. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free, send me your questions. I'll do my best to provide the answers. Go ahead and subscribe, and you'll be notified the next time I drop videos. I'm going to drop videos every Friday night. So stay tuned, and until then, keep creating.